Recording. Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome to today's session, and we're very happy to be doing this in collaboration with the Bank of Ireland in Portlaoise, and thanks very much to Paul Muldowney for organising this session today. So today's topic, it's very interesting and very relevant. Is it time for the independent retailer to pivot and shine in their communities? It's quite a broad question, but really I think the more you think about it, it's very important to discuss it. So today we're joined by the head of the retail sector in the Bank of Ireland, Owen Clifford, and Ladonna McCartan of Nook and Cranny, owner of the Nook and Cranny Gift Store in Portlaoise. So I'll start today's discussion with Owen, if that's okay. So Owen, as I mentioned, is the head of retail within Bank of Ireland for over 5 years. He previously worked in the retail sector in Musgraves. So thanks, Owen, for taking the time out today to join us.
No, pleasure, Bernie. Yeah.
You can only imagine how busy you are within your own job, so thanks very much. So we might kick off with a brief overview of the new reality for the retail sector, both in the Irish market and globally.
Yeah, of course. And look, at the outset, I suppose, if I'm thinking of what retailers are dealing with at the moment, a quote springs to mind: what lies behind you and what lies in front of you is far outweighed by what lies within you. And I think the Irish retailers, the empathy, the community spirit and the can-do attitude that they've shown over the last couple of months has been absolutely exemplary. Now, I'm an advocate for retailers for a number of years and what they bring to the community and what they generate for the economy. But I think if COVID has done anything, it's probably magnified that effect amongst the wider population. And they see the actual the contribution that retail makes to the community and how retailer and the retailers are the focal point and the lifeblood of their local communities. And that's an opportunity for independent retailers out there. That goodwill is there, and that goodwill will be retained, and it's an opportunity for them now to engage with customers once the roadmap starts coming into place in terms of reopening, and to actually move forward with those customers. The principles of retail haven't changed. Get the customer in, get the customer back, and get them spending a little bit more each time. So if you can engage with them now and have that goodwill with them, I think there's a real opportunity in the next few months, because the narrative that's out there is it's a lot of doom and gloom, and that's been driven by some of the larger international retailers, especially in the fashion area, who have been under pressure and have had to close their businesses, gone into administration and whatever. But a lot of those businesses were under pressure pre-COVID, and COVID was just one hurdle too many for them. So I don't think it's fair to paint the whole retail landscape as being under pressure, because as we have seen, the strength and the standards being delivered by Irish retailers around the country over the last number of years are so strong that there's an opportunity for them to move forward in a positive manner. In terms of what we're seeing, and there's something to watch out for, taken from, I suppose, the grocery perspective, the stores that have been open, the consumer at the moment wants a very frictionless experience. They want to get into their shop as quickly as possible and come home as quickly as possible. There's no dwell time in the shop. There's no impulse purchases whatsoever. And I suppose that type of character is what I would describe as 60-minute Joe, who normally appears around Christmas Eve, and it normally is a fella, and they're trying to get all of their shopping done. And if it's in one 60-minute window, and if they can do it all in one store, all the better. So that type of behavior is very functional. Shopping isn't a pleasurable experience for people at the moment. They just want to get it done and get it done as quickly as possible. But again, with that type of behavior, that actually is an opportunity for independent retailers out there, because they're located, accessible to the consumer, and also they're a lot more flexible. So there won't be queues in their stores. They can pre-arrange appointments with the customer, and they can tap into that requirement from the consumer at the moment, who wants a very frictionless experience, and one that's quick and one that's easy. In terms of in terms of, I suppose, the international experience and what we're seeing at the moment, the stores are starting to slowly reopen around Europe, and very much in the first 7 to 10 days in some sectors like gardening, DIY, we've seen it ourselves here in the last week. Mobile phone stores, there's some real pent-up demand there. So those stores are seeing footfall coming in, and people are purchasing more. But in general, across the other sectors, bar grocery, they're seeing a sales deterioration of 40 to 50% of what they were seeing this time last year. So it's very much a slow recovery. And even in those areas where there was a pent-up demand, that slow recovery is coming back in line after a week or 10 days as well. So it's 40 to 50% of the sales that they were doing last year. So it's incumbent on those retailers then, and what we're seeing is that they're pivoting towards click and collect and online. And online isn't the panacea for everything. Online on its own can be very much an expensive channel, and it's no coincidence that pure online players like Amazon and Alibaba internationally have moved in the last number of years into bricks and mortar stores. So a combination of both is probably the optimum, which is omni-channel. And again, with that omni-channel experience, it's about listening to the customer, making sure that the experience with your website is like being inside in your store. And again, for smaller retailers, that can be done a lot better. You're a lot more flexible, and you have the opportunity to arrange a consultation like this, like a Zoom call, to see what somebody wants, and again, have that in stock for them when they need it. The stocking piece as well is key for people. It's a lot of people have been turned off by the online experience during COVID because they've gone in looking for something, they've gone the whole way through the website, and then they come to pay for it and they're told we're out of stock. So having the most popular items at the front and making people aware if it's in stock or not in stock, well, obviously that builds up the relationship and the engagement that's there. And speaking of stock is absolutely key in terms of what people will need to be looking at over the next months and 6 months, because look, especially I suppose in the fashion industry, and I've said previously no Paul Galvin, but I know even in terms of fashion that it'll go out of style and it'll go out of season very, very quickly. So retailers are restricted by space then in terms of some of that fast moving stock lines. So the key element around stock is having an active management approach with it, and to be careful not to, the easiest thing in the world in terms of stock is to start discounting and trying to get rid of the stock quickly and say, look, I need to move it on, I need to discount it, I need to get something in for it. But you need to be careful around that, because what that can do sometimes is get people into an expectation around what your store proposition is, and does your store then for some people become a discount store, and when they visit the store they expect to get a discount and they expect to have that value, and again, that's unsustainable in the long term for retailers. If they're focusing purely on price, they need to focus on other areas. The other thing that's differentiated the retailers that are moving better and that are coping better in terms of COVID at the moment is those that are engaged with their staff, those that are engaged with the customers, and those that are really engaging with their suppliers. The three of those areas, staff, without your staff, they're your best brand ambassador. They're key in terms of making the customer feel safe in the store, making the customer feel that the shopping experience is strong. You can create a community with your staff. With your customers, it's about keeping that engagement, keeping in touch with them, having content, be it social media, be it with a website, be it a text message, just keeping in touch with them. And then with the suppliers, again, it's been having a reasonable dialogue with them, making sure that that payments and that there's an agreement around stock, agreement around supply. And what we found is that the people who have engaged proactively with their suppliers have actually generated a better long-term approach in terms of what the cost and the purchase price will be, and better credit terms. And suppliers really appreciate those that have made an effort in that regard. And especially the Irish economy, it's so interlinked and so interdependent that if there's one chain missing out of that, it affects all of us. If we take the grocery side, if we've got grocery retailers not paying small fruit producers, but they don't pay farmers who don't go back into the shop then to buy. So, and it's similar like that. It's so cyclical. So a considered and pragmatic approach around supplier payments is absolutely needed. So that's a very quick snapshot of what I'm seeing at the moment, and obviously can go into more detail with anybody if they want to contact me directly.
Yeah, and if anyone would like to ask a question, you can put it into the chat there and we'll ask Owen. But you've covered a lot there, and really there's so much to think about as a retailer from all those angles. And not only now is it your bricks and mortar, it's a hybrid of bricks and mortar online. I did see today an announcement that Facebook are now offering online, you can buy through a Facebook page now. So they've made it really easy. I actually did notice a local boutique here where I live, and their clothes are popping up and I could buy now through Facebook. I'd never seen it before. So it's another piece as well as a website to maintain and to consider.
Absolutely.
So look, we'll move on then to Ladonna. Everyone I'm sure on the call is very familiar and will recognise Ladonna. She's a high-profile businesswoman in Portlaoise. Ladonna is the owner of Nook and Cranny, the Retail Excellence Gift Store of 2019. So she has a lot of credentials behind her, and she is also involved in the award-winning Pantry Cafe, also in the centre of Portlaoise. And as if she hasn't enough to do, she's a really active member of the Downtown Portlaoise group, which are a really strong retail group in the town. I'm really impressed as I've come to this role how proactive this group are. So Ladonna, I'll let you give us a little bit of background about your business in Portlaoise, and thanks for joining us.
Not at all. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you for having me, and hello, Owen and everybody. So Mark and I actually took over the Pantry Cafe back in 2014. So we're operating the business for about 6 years now, and in that time we've actually tripled the capacity of the business since we took it over. We've had tremendous support from our customers and a fantastic team that work alongside us. So we're delighted to be able to do that. We've since added on a lovely walled garden, actually. Unfortunately, an empty walled garden right now. We don't have a customer enjoying that lovely sunshine, but it's a lovely cafe. We're very proud of it and love it. A year into the cafe operation, then we opened a second business, as you mentioned, a gift store just a few doors down on Main Street. Called Nook and Cranny, and as the name suggests, we love to hunt high up and low down to bring inspiration to our customers who tend to they come to us for beautifully crafted gifts that we've personally selected, something a little bit out of the ordinary, maybe a little bit more different. We're lucky, honestly. We love what we do. We work hard. We have a great team that works hard with us, and as you mentioned, we've had a number of successes along the way there with awards, which are great. Not to be all and end all, but they certainly keep us on our toes. And as you know, Portlaoise isn't short of award-winning businesses. Our neighbours across the way, Jerry Brown Jewellers, brought home a national award this year, and PJ Kavanagh's venue down the street as well has won awards. Jack Nolan's Locksmith just off Main Street, and indeed Telford's have had national awards. So you know, we've got some really great businesses in town that work hard at what they do. So anyway, we love Laois. It's Mark's hometown. We've got friends and family here, and we love our 1 kilometre commute and the accessibility to all the fabulous countryside and forest walks that we have so close to us. So for us, Portlaoise is home and our place to work, and hopefully we'll be here for a long time.
Great. And Ladonna, I know you know, you've had your own experience of how the COVID-19 unfolded, in that you weren't even here when kind of things started to kind of take off at a very fast pace.
No, you're right. I had a landmark birthday last year, Bernie, and we decided that we would mark it with different things throughout the year. And so Mark and I actually left for a long-awaited holiday in March. Our plan had been that we would close the cafe for the second week of our trip. And in fact, it was the first time in 6 years that we would have closed the cafe for the purpose of holidays. It meant that our entire team was going to have the opportunity to take a week off at the same time. So we made plans, they made plans, but it all went pear-shaped, unfortunately. We came back early, the team never got away, other than one member of the team actually who is due to fly back. She's been stranded abroad for 2 months, but we're looking forward to welcoming her back now on Sunday. Obviously we checked with our travel agent and the Department of Foreign Affairs before we left, and the virus was very prevalent in Italy, but we were going to the States, there was nothing there at that time, but we felt it was okay to proceed. But anyway, it all changed, and I suppose for the short time that we were abroad, we felt very, very far away at a time when difficult decisions were having to be made around the business. And I suppose one of the hardest things was only being able to communicate by phone and in different time zones with the team till we were able to get back. So in less than a week, we went away and came back to both businesses closed, and a pandemic that had really started to reach Ireland, and we found ourselves in the same horribly surreal position as many of our colleagues in business and your members.
Yeah, but since then, in fairness, excuse me, you have adapted pretty quickly. Within the first 3 weeks, you went online, which was quite incredible, and you built a website on your own. We did.
We did. Well, I suppose after the initial shock and disbelief and the feelings that we had, we kind of gathered our thoughts. We knew we had to sit down, take stock of where we were at and where we needed to go. Figure out what the next steps were. And I suppose for Mark and I, we went from a mindset which was always kind of set to the medium term to looking at what's needed right here, right now. This week, this month, we spoke to each of our staff individually to check in on them and let them know what we'd be doing, and that we would be doing everything possible to keep our business and their jobs safe. We spoke to our landlords, and they were both very understanding and supportive, in fairness, and that was a great help. Okay. I suppose, as you say, we knew one immediate and obvious benefit, one need that we had was to get down to the job of designing and building our own online store for the gift shop for Nook and Cranny, so that our customers could continue shopping with us. And so we set about doing that. Mark, he settled into the office upstairs. I worked at our kitchen table, closer to the coffee machine and the biscuit jar. And it took 21 consecutive days with both of us working on the job, 10 hours a day, to get nookandcranny.ie to go live. We had, in fairness, made several attempts at getting a website up and running previously, but honestly, as a full-time owner-operator, and many of our colleagues in business face the same challenge, I don't know if actually we'd ever have gotten around to doing it. So I guess that having our own online shopping facility now has been one of the silver linings for us. Yeah. And how are you finding it? Are people engaging with it, and they absolutely are flying in? Please, they are. Thank God, we're very grateful for it. Yes, there's tremendous support. Since it's gone live, we've been doing about 60% of our in-store sales, so that's a strong figure, and we're going to work on it too. Because even through a pandemic, there are still birthdays and anniversaries and weddings, or well, not weddings, but occasions that people want to mark, even more now than ever. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and you know what? I think we're highly privileged to be in a position where our customers trust us to send, to select with them gifts that are suitable for the occasions that, as you say, still are continuing. I've recently sent a parcel as far away to New Zealand. Yesterday, something went down to Skibbereen to a couple that have had to unfortunately cancel their wedding. Twice now, and then there's care packages that are going around the country, making people know that there's people thinking about them in this difficult time. And it's, as I say, it's been an enormous privilege to be selecting gifts with our customers. And Owen mentioned video calls. We're doing a lot of video calls with our customers whilst we're online, and a lot of our customers are familiar with online and like the fact that they can access Nook and Cranny now 24/7, but there are some customers that aren't aren't comfortable with it, or they might go so far in the process, have a browse, but they still want to pick up the phone and get advice on something, or maybe they have an additional question. So we've been doing, everybody knows how to do a WhatsApp video, and we've been doing that. And you know, it's been lovely just seeing the customer's face at the other side, and being able to help them with their inquiries. Yeah.
And in terms of today's topic, I suppose you're an example of an independent retailer that has pivoted and is shining, you know, but in terms of in the landscape, and particularly in Portlaoise, you know, do you think there is a real opportunity for that pivoting and shining and more involvement with the community, and the community respecting the retailer maybe a little bit more now than we would have previously?
Yeah, well, there certainly is an opportunity to pivot. The shining might be perspiration just now, but I know the kind of shining that we're all hoping for. You know, there's huge challenges for the retailer in every facet of our business and in every single element of our regular day-to-day operations, that's for sure. There's change, there's challenge, but I agree with Owen. I think there's opportunity too. And you know, there's opportunity in those additional people who are now going to probably continue working from home and not as commute as much. They'll have time to participate and spend in their local community, and potentially be our customer as long as we take care to meet their needs. I see opportunity in the staycation market. We've a gloriously authentic product that is just starting to gather momentum, and keep up the great work, you guys in Laois Tourism. You're doing fine work for us. There's great supports for businesses now to get up online via the enterprise office. I think, you know, and via other channels too. But I think we need to stick together and to choose to focus on the positive and maybe look at what we have for a moment rather than what's been taken away. And I think that independents have been right at the front line with their customer. We've really gotten to know our customer. We've a great understanding of their needs, and being able to work hard at building our customers' trust has led us to be in this position where you know, they trust us. We have a trust bank that I think will be one of the ways in which we can really try and shine a guiding light of hope for our customers as they emerge in these difficult times. One of the, you'll be familiar with Bob Phibbs, who's also known as the retail doctor. He's an independent retail consultant, and one of my favorite lines of his at the moment is, we really don't have the luxury of a negative thought. And I agree with that. You know, there's no doubt people are living in fear of their health and fear of the health of their loved ones. So we need to honour their trust in us first and foremost. We need to provide reassurance that we take our customers' concerns seriously by complying absolutely with the government guidelines around health and heightened hygiene, obviously for the benefit of ourselves and our staff too. And then I think crucially we need to kind of try and reignite the familiarity, the warmth of our community vibe, and we need to reignite that with our customer and with our colleagues in business in the town. And is that going to be difficult? Absolutely. You know, we're now living in a low contact environment, but in my mind, there's always a way to show a customer that they matter, show interest in them and their needs, inject positivity and even humour into a situation. And it certainly does mean we need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to get creative about developing new ways of talking to our customer, most likely via social media, but also by email, by text, by video. There will be opportunities to engage customers more by perhaps even more creative shop fronts and shop windows, and maybe offer different hours of operation to suit home office workers, consider appointment times for more vulnerable customers. And I think we also need to educate ourselves on the supports that are out there and take advantage of them, and feed back to the relevant agencies as to what else could be useful or maybe isn't working. Owen mentioned about community there, and certainly in this period of restricted movement, there's been a real appreciation of what community means and the value of our community. And it's really all about people and connection. There's been a real sense of solidarity in our community, and that we're in this together. And so I think one of the opportunities, and it's something I've every faith in, is that as this new norm evolves, that us locals will more regularly ask ourselves in advance of making a purchase, can I buy this gift, for example, either online or in a store in Laois? I think we were all very kind of busy before in our lives, maybe a bit on autopilot up and down the motorways to other towns and cities, sending business not just out of the county but out of the country, to the tune of 84%, which is a horrible statistic, all sending that overseas, online to overseas economies, and maybe not thinking perhaps of the value and the relevance of our buying power in the local economy. And I really do think that this is changing. I think people will not only shop local because of an ad that they've seen or out of some sense of obligation. We need to see every euro that we spend as one vote on what kind of community we'd like to live in the future. And I think we better appreciate the contribution of our purchase and making, that it makes to the local community. And we'll actually choose to keep it local because we've learned how precious our community and our community vibe is. And in these unprecedented times for us all, there's no magic pill, and I acknowledge how difficult it all feels because I feel it. But against the challenge, I see light and I see resilience. I don't know if you saw, but one of the longest established businesses in town, Allo Dunnigan's, there at the top of Main Street, they reopened on Monday past, and I saw Kevin popped up a post on Facebook saying, we reopened our doors today. It's great to see everybody again and to return to something resembling normality. But he took a great bit of footage around the town using a drone. And I looked at it and I have to say, it was a lovely aerial piece of the roofs of all the homes and the offices and the shops and the hotels, of all the streets and laneways of our lovely town, slowly getting back to life. And I felt hope. I feel hope. And I think we independents really can and will shine a light of hope and of positivity, because it's the situation that's unknown for all of us. But our needs haven't changed, our customers' needs haven't changed, and we are still known to our customers, and they remain known to us. And I suppose just one last thing I might add is, and it's something that Retail Excellence Ireland, on all of their correspondence to their members, and there were daily correspondences and have been through all of this, but they ended off every single communication with 3 words, we will prevail. And I think we will. I really do believe we will.
It's you're very inspirational, really, and I'm hoping that many of the people listening to this and that will listen to the recording take up some of the many nuggets there that you've gone through. It's great to see the enthusiasm and your positivity, and I think that will actually rub off if we can talk it up. That's really the vibe that's going to go out there, I think. Owen, would you have anything further to add to Ladonna for the independent retailer in a town like Portlaoise in the Midlands?
I think Ladonna summed it up absolutely fantastically. That passion is what's needed. I think there's a real opportunity around the country as well, not just to keep it in a regional basis, but it needs to happen around the country between the chambers to get people on board, shop local, have that campaign. It was something I was promoting myself only a couple of months ago, and I was delighted Retail Excellence picked it up in terms of having a voucher given to everybody over 18 that they can spend in local shops. And I think there is a momentum around that, and people realise that if we don't start supporting our communities and the retailers are the lifeblood of our communities, well, we can blame nobody else then if there's a lack of community spirit in our areas, or if we're seeing unemployment, if we're seeing knock-on effects. So the onus, and quite rightly, that spending that euro is a vote. It's a vote, and we need to use that vote very, very wisely. But if COVID has taught us anything, it's that community and health and well-being are absolutely key. And there's an opportunity now for us as we re-emerge from restrictions to demonstrate that all of us as individuals are supporting our own communities. That's the key. Ladonna quite rightly pointed out around that statistic around online sales going overseas. There's such an opportunity for Irish retailers to engage with the Irish consumer, to demonstrate we can do this as good as anybody else. If you're going to spend spend it with us. It can be through our online channel, it can be through our physical store, but you need to support us because we can do it every bit as good as what the international element is. And I think there is going to be, people have spoken about in an economic downturn that, people will look for value. Well, I think value has to be distinguished from price. It's not just about price, it's about the value and the values that come with it. People are going to be more concerned around the provenance of the goods, where the goods are from, how it's being made, and what the knock-on effect of those goods and those services are for their overall community. There's opportunities there. It's going to be a tough landscape. It's going to be a slow recovery, but it's incumbent on all of us to be part of that recovery and to support the people that are generating employment and generating jobs and supporting all of us in the wider context. If you look at retail, there's over 280,000 people employed in retail around the country. It contributes 8 billion to the exchequer. So in terms of what's happening out there, there's an onus on all of us to support the growth and the revival, and that term revival is key around it. It's not dead. The naysayers out there saying that bricks and mortar retail is dead and that high street shopping is dead. They don't know the reality. With people like Ladonna out there who have that passion, there's a future for Irish retail, and we all need to be part of it, and we all need to support it.
I know Chambers Ireland are just about to back a new campaign, the Kilkenny shopper bringing out, called Champion Green. Last year they had a Green Friday, but it's a similar kind of vibe to that. So that'll be coming out in the press, and they want everyone to get behind that. Business organisations, retailers, to get the messaging out there into the community. And they're great promoters of Irish product, and they have their retail outlets and their online piece as well. So we'll keep an eye out for that. So look, I think everything was covered there today, and I think the question, is it time for the independent retailer to pivot and shine their communities? I think absolutely yes, it is, and hopefully the communities will get behind the retailers, and we'll have better opportunities for everybody in our communities. I do see a comment there, the cream always rises. This is from Cara from Laois Tourism. Cream always rises. Ladonna's continuing to offer the amazing customer service we've come to respect from Nook and Cranny. She diagnoses the needs and tastes of customers. The parcels she sends look and even smell amazing. Continued success with the impressive pivot. Thanks for an excellent session. So that sums it up, I think.
Thank you,
Ladonna, and I know I'm sure that you're available for other retailers maybe to benchmark off what you've been doing and how you've kind of survived.
Well, I certainly would be happy to chat with anybody. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. We just simply love what we do. We try to listen to as many experts as we can to learn as much as we can. And often the answers are in yourself. I think often we don't give ourselves the credit for knowing the answers, or maybe we don't take time. So in my mind, on the 8th of June, I will be opening a new Nook and Cranny, a new store that is hopefully has pivoted to these new changes. But there are terrific networks in town. The Downtown Portlaoise Association works very hard and is made up of a group of very enthusiastic individuals. The Portlaoise Tidy Towns does an enormous amount of work for the town, and there's a tremendous amount of work and planning been done by the town team in association with Laois County Council. And big thanks to Denise Rainey and her enthusiasm and the hard work that she puts in to work with us all. So we actually have tremendous strength in the community here in Portlaoise. We just need to stick together and keep going, and we will come out the other side. I've every faith.
That's great. I'll leave that final word with you, Ladonna. And listen, thanks again to Owen and Ladonna for taking the time out and to give us their kind of view of what the landscape is and how it can evolve and how it can survive. And a big thank you to... Yeah, sorry, Evan, you want
Sorry, just before you go, just thanks for a really good session. Thanks, Ladonna, very inspirational. But just, I know that businesses now are all looking at reopening, and their different businesses will be opening at different times. But the local enterprise office, we're putting on a program redesigning your business for physical distancing. So it's all about planning for reopening and planning for recovery as well. And we hope to start that in the next few weeks. And it involves 4 2.5 hour group sessions and then 4 one-to-one mentoring sessions. So I think it's a program that businesses should look at opting into at the moment, particularly at this very stressful time. And it's all about making the customer confident in going into your store and making sure that they're safe when they're in your store. So I think it's something you should consider doing. So we will send details out when we get more information on it in terms of dates and everything. And it's free, so I think it's a good opportunity now to look at things. And also you have the Restart grant that is coming out through the local authority. It's going live on Friday, and it's based on your 2019 rates bill. So there's a grant of between 2,000 and 10,000, and that can be used to help you reopen again, or even to pay some utility bills, insurance, or things like that. So that's something too you should look out for.
That's great. Thanks very much for that, Evelyn. And,
Bernie?
Yes.
Bernie, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just didn't want to finish without paying tribute and thanks to you personally. I know when we got back into Ireland off the plane, you were one of the first people to put a call through to say, did you get back safely and how are you both? And see you after your 2 weeks of self-isolation. And I think the work that you're doing in terms of the webinars, it's incredibly interesting listening to other colleagues and see how they're doing and coping with everything in their businesses. So well done and thank you. Keep up the great work. You're a tremendous support yourself.
Well, look, it's trying to stay engaged with the members in a whole new landscape for me as well. When I took this job, I never foresaw how it might evolve. But look, everyone is in a new place.
Yeah.
And thanks again to everyone, and particularly to Paul Muldowney. He's the local branch manager in Portlaoise, and this session wouldn't have happened today if it wasn't for Paul offering the contact for Owen. So this session has been recorded, which is great, because I think it's really valuable, and I think a lot of people will get a lot of valuable information and inspiration in particular from this session. So thanks again for everyone that logged on, and stay safe.
Thank you, Bernie. Take care, everyone. Bye now.